Welcome, family, to another episode of Beyond the Headlines. Oh my God, had I not missed this space, had I not missed talking to you, as usual, I am with my co-host, Ntombi Nkosi. Ntombi, welcome.
Thank you, Sisi.
Another episode, another discussion, events happening in South Africa. You know what? This is just one of the segments that we have as the Marginalised Forum, where we really look into intricacies of issues in this country. And one glaring one is the high level of crime in this country, the incidences that are actually taking place. It's one of the things that we thought, this week, let's just focus on that and really drill deep and really talk about it. We're just going to be talking about just 1 week of May, where a lot of incidences happened. And South Africans, we are living in a crime-ridden country. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please like, please share. Let's have a discussion. We appreciate your comments as well. And you know what? Just not to even waste any time. Ntombi.
Yes.
The high level of crime. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Cindy.
I am so excited. I am so excited that we get to even talk about this particular issue. But I think at the same time, it comes with a level of grave concern.
Indeed.
This week, just by itself, there's a lot that happened with regards to the crime in this country. What is your thinking process with regards to it before we even share the statistics?
Yeah, it's really concerning. And what is more concerning is the fact that law enforcement officers find themselves on the wrong side of the law. These human beings are supposed to be protecting South Africans. These are the citizens that are these are the people who are supposed to be making sure that all citizens are safe in South Africa. They are protecting each and every individual. But somehow they find themselves on the wrong side of the law. It's really concerning. And some of them, they really do get away with it. That's another concern, because they know how to shield each other. They know how to conceal if a crime has been committed. It's really concerning.
So, in really starting our discussion in terms of looking at the high level of crime in this country, it was good that when we were preparing this, we decided that let's just take 1 week of May and look at the reported incidences that's happened in this country. Just, every week, the SAPS seizes no less than 100 firearms throughout the corners of this country, right? So, and just that particular week in which we decided to actually derive statistics from, the SAPS seized 152 of these illegal firearms, the majority being in Mpumalanga and followed by the Western Cape. I'm not surprised by the Western Cape. I'm very surprised by Mpumalanga. So there has to be something in Mpumalanga that is actually happening for the police to have seized so much firearms.
Yeah.
It is very concerning. And perhaps maybe the issue of the mines that are there, the illegal miners that are actually there around in Mpumalanga. That's another issue. Remember, we actually touched on it previously. And if you look at these statistics, just 1 week in terms of the firearms that were seized, it's actually a concern. So it's still happening. It's still happening, Dom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is happening. And yeah, you are right. In Mpumalanga, there are a number of mines that are currently active. And Zama's illegal miners are not resting. They feel what they're obligated with. They have to also get something out of this economy, unfortunately. Remember 2 months ago, there was this businessman, a young businessman, who was gunned down. He was driving in his Porsche. He was not protected. He was driving straight from a meeting in one of the mines, going back home, and he was cornered and gunned down. Nothing was taken to show that this was not a normal robbery. This was a hit.
Even in that case, when you talk about murders that are actually taking place in just that 1 week, that we just decided that we're just going to pick 1 week in the month of May for us to be able to look at these stats. 148 murder suspects arrested, dominated by the Western Cape. And then it was followed by Gauteng, and a total of 128 suspects were also arrested for attempted murder throughout the country in 1 week. So you look at the murders that are actually taking place in various parts of this country, and these are just reported statistics. Can you imagine the murders that are actually taking place and they are not reported? It actually shows that the high crime level in this country, it has become something that is not manageable. And my thinking is that the police minister himself, with regards to what is happening, what is your view since he actually came in and in terms of looking at issues of crime?
Yeah, Minister Senzo Mkhuna. Okay, my take on him since coming into office, very different from his predecessor, Ubeki. He's on the ground. He goes and engages with the people. He's not reactionary all the time. There's been programs that I've even attended where he had organized imbizos. And another thing that I've noticed, he gives the police commissioner, Ufani Masimula, his space, breathing space. He respects him. This guy is a police commissioner, national commissioner, and if there's anything that is happening, national commissioner is also visible. He goes to the ground, he engages with the people, which is something that we have not seen in a long time. For the past 6 or 7 years where Bheki Cele was involved, he was doing all the talking, he was doing everything. So with Usenzo Mkhunu, I can see there's umehluko, there's a difference, slight difference, and yeah, police are more on the ground. Every week we've got police have got this Operation Chanela. Operation Chanela started as Operation Ukai Mulao in Gauteng, which was just in Gauteng, but because it was very criminals were being arrested, were being caught, they decided to make this a national thing and calling it Operation Chanela. Operation Chanela, every weekend, there's no week where they are not involved. Every weekend, the provincial commissioners are part of the people who are on the ground, making sure what they check. That's why we are seeing the statistics that you've just alluded to. That's why we're seeing all these statistics, the improvement. It's an improvement because long time ago they were not even reporting, they were not bothering to give us the stats. So it shows what they are really trying to fight this crime, and they see the issue of the importance of accountability. So we are seeing an improvement in policing since.
So very interesting as well, Ntombi, is the issue of the suspects. Now that you've just alluded to that, there's an improvement.
Yeah.
In just 1 week of May, there were 2,841 suspects that were arrested in possession of drugs. The majority, once again, being the Western Cape. Being the Western Cape, it's understandable, because all these, crimes that have been drug-related and reported in the country, the drug den is in the Western Cape. We're not saying that there's other drug dens that do not operate in this country, but Western Cape seems to be number one all the time.
Cape Flats, and also there's the Cape Flats.
Thank you that you just actually brought it up.
Gangsterism. You find places like Makas in Khayelitsha, where almost every day someone dies. Cape Flats, all those gang wars related. And you are right, she's talking about drugs. So yeah.
So interesting, so that we sometimes might take this issue lightly, but the influence of alcohol and the effect that it has on when you're driving, and when you're beyond the limit, the effect that it actually does have, and I don't know as South African if we really take this matter serious, because if there are 835 suspects that are arrested in 1 week under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and Gauteng
Once again.
and the Western Cape being the top of it, it's a bit concerning. What is your thinking process with regards to that?
I suspect that most motorists who disregard the law, who normally drink and drive, they really don't think what there are consequences. I've heard people talking about it, like, it's not like I'm going to be convicted. And they are wrong. Because if you are found with, let's say you caused an accident, you can go to jail. You will face like around about 10 years in jail if found guilty. So I don't think our people really understand how serious it is to be caught DUI. DUI is very serious, and I'm seeing police, especially JMPD, almost every week, every Sunday they give out the statistics where they just concentrating on drunk drivers. And another shocking thing. Long time ago, it used to be men who tends to lead the stats. Lately, it's us women who's leading the stats of being arrested for DUI.
Siako, Anto.
If you go and stay home, consume your alcohol and sleep. Because some of the things, besides drinking and driving, where alcohol is involved, you find that domestic violence, that's where people will find people driving in the groove. They will be fighting, or they will be having misunderstandings, and they will fight. Sometimes it happens with one person has a gun, then they will draw and shoot at people. Remember the incident that happened last month, actually in April, where one guy, a former businessman or a former fraudster, got to one of the restaurants establishments in Sandton. I'm not gonna mention the name. Remember, he got there. He opened fire, and unfortunately he was shot and killed, and his bodyguards were also shot. So alcohol and this thing of driving, you see there's a connection, and it lands people, it's either dead or behind bars.
So one of the glaring things that actually stood out for me when we were actually looking at these statistics in terms of the criminal activities that were actually taking place, I think it was under that Operation Chanel, like what you had indicated, that every week they release statistics on the intervention that is being undertaken by police. In terms of being able to sort of curb crime. But the issue of gender-based violence, Ntombi, we seem to be failing our justice system that we're actually relying on for us to be able to really get some justice. It seems to be failing us consistently. 224 suspects in just that week of May were arrested for rape, as well as 5 suspects of attempted rape. And amongst those that were arrested on those allegations of rape, one, it is an SAPS trainer, and also one, it is an Inkosi from KwaZulu-Natal. And the concern also, it is just that case of the 17-year-old, that police officer that, was just convicted for raping a 17-year-old who was a complainant who came to seek for help with regards to, being assaulted by her boyfriend. And this man had the audacity of raping the 17-year-old in the office, whilst the others were actually there. And we find that such cases seem to be happening rampantly.
Yes.
And they're increasing. And that is one thing that I thought, we need to hone in on, because we don't really talk about it. What is your thinking process with regards to that?
Okay, background to that incident where we recently saw a conviction. This former police officer was a 50-year-old. His surname is Kiko. He took a state car and falsely, pretended to be going to question this woman, because this woman was a complainant. She had opened a case against her boyfriend a complaint of, I think it was abuse. So this police officer had the audacity to take this young girl, she was a teen then, took her to the station to question her, then started raping her on top of the table. While all of this was happening, this woman is in Imbokoto. She tried to fight back. She reached for an empty bottle and managed to hit this former police officer on the head. So after hitting that guy, as he was dazed, this woman ran to the charge office. She was screaming hysterically. You can just imagine. Hysterically ran to report that this guy was raping her. One of the officers shielded the colleague.
No.
Ridiculed the woman. That's secondary. She's a victim now. It's secondary victimization. They were laughing at her. They even said, one of the officers said, maybe you are under the influence of drugs. Meaning that they were not believing her. They were just ridiculing her. Third time, she was, she was told that the case was being withdrawn because of inconsistency. But it turns out that she had to undergo psychology, through psychologists, clinical psychologists, so that they can see what had happened. And after that, they noticed, okay, this has happened. And the charges, the case was subsequently brought back to on the court roll. And all of this happening when the matter was, when it was reported, it was withdrawn. This officer had an audacity to go and lodge what he was suing NPA, 3.5 million, saying that he was falsely accused. So now, not only did he rape, and that has been tried and tested in court, and he's been found guilty. So initially, NPA was going for 15 years, but because they saw that he was unremorseful, they slapped him with 5 more years. So right now he's facing 20 years in jail. The magistrate was so firm when he was giving out the judgment, because this guy is unremorseful. He does not regret what he was doing. Even worse, he was trying to put the officials, as the NPA, ridiculing them, putting them under the bus, accusing them because they falsely arrested him, knowing that he really did commit the crime.
So, one of the things that actually happened this week as well, and to my dismay, if I can be able to actually say it on record, with the National Prosecuting Authority. Their decision not to pursue charges in the alleged 7-year-old girl that was raped. I mean, this case, if you really look at it, it sparked so much national outrage. And it really highlighted the systematic failures that this country has with regards to really protecting the vulnerable, which is our children. I'm not understanding. We looked at it, and there was a discussion and there were interviews that took place with the NPA spokesperson. And in terms of him indicating that there was no anything substantial that revealed that the girl had been raped. But it's so disheartening that the people that are investigating this, for them to be able to just relinquish this issue and not go deeper and look at other people, if the ones that are said that the DNA came, whatever it is, but there's more into this thing. The mother of the child, what she's going through. So can we just perhaps maybe explore that issue a bit?
No, the issue of is very heartbreaking. I mean, she's one of many. There are many other Kwekwas out there. How many others are going to suffer? Like, there's going to be more who are going to be assaulted, and like police, the justice will just fail them as they failed this little girl. The incident happened last year already. Yeah. Only this year, people are paying attention, go say, okay, what has happened? That means right now, what you're talking about, mentioning Umtunzi Mhaga, not Mhaga, Umtunzi from ENPA, saying that they found out, they've decided not to prosecute anyone in that Matatiela case. Because they looked at they say they investigated, they did a thorough investigation, and they checked the docket. And the docket is coming, the result on the docket shows that the child was never assaulted or was never raped, which seems to be different. It's like they're saying the mother is crazy right now. Because the mother says there was evidence and the child was taken for medical tests. There was a doctor, more than one doctor who confirmed that the girl had been sexually assaulted. But right now, with all of this, NPA deciding sorry, that they are not prosecuting anyone, it's very disheartening. I mean, in April this year, the Minister in Presidency for Women, Youth, Children, and people who live with disability, Minister Sindiswa Chikunga, she went to the media. There was a big media briefing. She confirmed that there is evidence and that this minor was allegedly raped. So now what are they saying? Are they saying the minister was crazy to confirm that the girl was raped versus, I mean, and a lot has happened. This is the first time, okay, it's not really the first time, but what has happened so far, what we've seen happening in this case, the mother getting an accident. In all of this, are these authorities thinking about the well-being of the child, first of all, the mother, the father, and people who are around this child? Is this girl going to have a normal life? Sure. All those questions. Like, sure. It's really concerning.
You know, childhood trauma is so real because I'm sure you can sit there and I can be able to sit there and relay certain stories that we endured as children and we still remember. And the trauma that stays with it. For me, it's about this child because she has to grow up in a society. She still has to become a teenager. She still has to become a mother. She still has to contribute as a woman towards certain things in this country and have experience that she will carry throughout her life and live her life is the trauma. And the fact that society let her down. And the fact that she was spoken of. And this happens. At the heart of it all, it is that trauma that this child is going to endure for the rest of her life. For me, that is what gets to me. It's the same trauma that those that were raped by Pastor Omotoso. Allegedly, don't sue me. The fact that they're still going through this trauma and the Omotoso drama still continues. Can we look at this boo-boo that was done by the Department of Home Affairs?
It's really not funny, but hey.
On a serious note, how do we now really trust that our justice system will be able to do right by us when the Department of Home Affairs decided, as a matter of, the technicality part of it, somebody should have thought about it. You arrest the man on Saturday, the 10th of May, in East London for contravening the Immigration Act. And this man had to be released because the procedures were not followed. As he was supposed to be brought to court 48 hours of his arrest, which was on a Monday at 7 instead of 2 p.m. So somebody woke up after some time, just said, no. Or somebody did not do their due diligence to look at the time in which the man was arrested and the time in which the man had to appear in court. But sure, are we going to go there in terms of talking about civil servants of this country? Because the Home Affairs consists of people, and it is people that bungled up this particular issue. So can we talk about it in Dombi? You know, the Omotoso and the guy now, Mara, this guy. What is this guy? Joe, the guy go man.
There's a voodoo going on. There's a voodoo going on. Punyu Abampete.
I mean, like, seriously, how does that happen? Sure. There's another story about Nigeria that we need to talk about. But anyways, what is your thinking with regards to this issue?
This guy has got voodoo. Whoever that this guy is serving, it works. I mean, there's no way that for 8 years, 32 charges, serious charges. Mind you, it was raped, it was attempted rape, human trafficking, racketeering, 32 cases, 8 years going to court, in and out of court. 8 years later, he was found guilty, he's not guilty.
Yeah.
8 years. There were people like Cheryl, who was 14 at that time, she was a minor. She was, I think South Africans, we applauded her, we were like, at that young age, she could stand and present her case, like in the witness talk about this thing and other victims. But somehow this man, Wapunyu Gabampet.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, now with this latest topical, I don't know what to call it.
It's a boob. It's just a boob.
And it's going to cost South Africa. The taxpayers are going to fit the bill because right now, I guess as you alluded to, Gucci, this guy, Home Affairs, they made a mistake, and when that magistrate was reading out the judgment, it did say, Gucci, like proper channels where processes were not followed. Therefore, this guy is a free man. He's a free man again. So this is the second time he's been declared a free man. But right now, he's not gonna go down and just like that. He's still considering to sue the state for the wrongful arrest. So the applicant, obviously, he'll be the applicant. Then Home Affairs, South African government are going to be sued. And by the looks of things, this guy knows what he's doing, or whoever is behind him, or the voodoo, or the witch doctor that he's attending to, or he's God because he's claiming to be a man of God. Self-proclaimed man of God. Again, the justice system and the police, everyone, they were put to test, and at the end of the day, it shows. Right now, it's like if this was soccer, this would be like 10-0. If we were to talk about soccer terms, or if I were to be making an example, this guy is just winning.
Yeah, no, we seem not to be getting it. And Unandipa Makutumane's case with with the latest, attempt to challenge her so-called apprehension, the arrest and abduction in Tanzania, and the fact that it was actually dismissed by the Supreme Court of Appeal and by the majority of judges that were actually sitting there, except one. Sure. Sometimes you sit on the borderline of trying not to judge. The fact that I know Tabo Besta maybe began a voodoo man. Or something like
the connections.
That was like a fairy tale story. And now you are caught. You are part of this whole thing. And you are appealing. And you are using a technicality for you to be able to evade, to take responsibility and accountability for what you've done. What is your thinking?
I think it's one of the delay tactics. They are playing us. They think South Africans and the law is a joke. What I see, first of all, background, Unandi Pamagudumane and Thabo Bester were arrested in 2023 in Arusha, Tanzania. They were making their way, according to reports, they were making their way to Kenya. After fleeing South Africa, we all remember the Great Escape, as many people call it, where Thabo Bester managed to escape from the Mangaung Correctional Service, which was G4 Security was the one that is in charge. It is the one that is in charge of that private facility. He escaped there. He managed to even fast forward, there's a guy called Kabelo. Kabelo it turns out is the guy, his body, child remains are the ones that were found in the cell, because initially Correctional Service Department reported to us saying that Thabo Bester had set himself on fire and he perished, he died. Not knowing what 7 months later, 2024, he was going to be spotted somewhere in Sandton doing shopping with who? With Dr. Nandi Pamaguduman, the doctor, the famous doctor, who is a mother of 2. Can you imagine what those girls are going through right now? Living without your mother. Can you imagine the families of all these people who were involved, including Kabelo, who was killed? All the bodies that were being found left, right, and center. Can you imagine what is going to happen? So I believe her taking the court, claiming that because she was saying she was unlawfully arrested. So she's been trying to prove that she was unlawfully arrested in Arusha, brought to South Africa. So she, on technicalities, she wants her to be let go. And it turns out, like you just mentioned, the case, the Supreme Court was the last court to deal with this matter. So now the date has been set, trial date has been set for the 21st of July, which right now NPA has confirmed that they are ready to prosecute. They believe that this is a high density case. They think they've got all the evidence to pin Unandipa, Thabo Bester, and the other accused in this murder and all the charges that are there, including the escaping of Thabo Bester. So finally, South Africa is going to see the case going on trial, what we've been waiting for. Since 2023, since the arrest, it's 2025 right now.
Yeah. So on the 1st of May, we commemorated the rights of workers.
Yeah.
And it is against the backdrop of the continued exploitation that is actually happening. I think the cleaners, we normally don't even talk about it. We had one episode here where we spoke to Umamlindi, who's a cleaner. And she spoke about the exploitation practices that are happening. But it's not only in the cleaning industry. In fact, all these sort of marginalized industries where you find even the private security industry itself, the worst exploitation that is actually taking there. But one of the glaring one was the one that happened in the Palm Ridge court in the east of Johannesburg, where the cleaners of that court were not paid salaries for over 2 months. by some company that we cannot mention, but they are contracted by the public works.
Yeah.
And it turns out that these workers do not even get pay slips. They are deducted to the UIF. It's not paid over. And, when Qatar's parliament, thank you to Pelma Zibigo, by the way, for the stunning work that she does, is that when she intervened, it turned out that the cleaners were affected not only at Palm Beach Court, in most of the courts throughout the country. You go to the private security industry. One of the companies, that we are going to be looking at, and we are still going to come back and talk about it, by the way. They are employing foreigners. And in the private security industry, you're not supposed to. But out of the 1,300 employees that they do have, they decided that they were going to circumvent them being able to comply with the statutory obligations of the industry and decide that, we're going to be able to exploit workers, and exploiting workers will be able to go and employ, and some of those foreigners are illegal. It goes back to the issue of Zanzi. Is it Zanzi? That club. It goes back to the military camp that sprawled into somewhere in Mpumalanga. It goes back to a whole number of issues that are actually happening, where you find that even bouncers that are acting as bodyguards and whatever it is, and some of them are not even documented. But it all boils down to exploitation practices. And these industries, they're concerning, don't they? They're concerning. What is your view with regards to that?
And these industries, they are very essential. I mean, you spoke about cleaners, security. Those are the most exploited people, and it's the biggest industry because, security, private security is the biggest employer in this country. Cleaners are needed everywhere. You go to a hospital, you go to firms, you go to malls. Talking about this particular security company, I managed to interview about four security officers. All of them, they are saying one thing, that they are not paid on time, and they are accusing their employer of not contributing for pension fund, and they are worried. They are worried because they're thinking, what's going to happen to them once they retire? All that money, and this thing is affecting even their household. One of them mentioned that my wife doesn't respect me anymore. One month I've earned money, or I've been paid. The other month I'm also waiting, just like any other person, waiting to see an SMS from a phone saying that I've been paid or not. There's no specific date where they know we're gonna be paid. He says other colleagues in the past have committed suicide because of that. Can you imagine? They mentioned the fact that obviously, we've got debit orders. The more a debit order bounces, you are charged. So at the end of the day, they get their little money that they get, and they mentioned that they are grade C. Grade C, if you are in grade C, you have to. There's a standard amount that you have to get. But all of them, they say they earn these peanuts that I can't mention for now because we are still investigating this. And as FMI, we're gonna come back with the full story. We'll mention the company once everyone has been given a right of reply. We're going to come back. These people are risking their lives at malls. Some of them are busy transporting monies for fidelity. Okay, sorry for mentioning the company, but they're transporting money from point A to point B. They are risking their lives to find out what such people are not getting paid on time. It's really concerning.
When you also talk about the issue of cash in transit, the heights that are actually taking place, we need to actually have a discussion at some point, because I think it is important to note that in these companies cutting costs, they cut manpower. When they cut manpower, instead of it being a 4-man's team in a car, they cut it to a 2-man's team. And this is the person that is driving, and this is the person that is sitting and guarding the money at the back. And for you to be able to cut costs, you decided that you're going to be risking other people's lives. This is another discussion that we actually need to have just as an episode, so that you can be able to actually see how this also leads to increase in accessibility of and the risk that is involved with regards to these particular issues happening, simply because I decide as an employer that I'm going to be skimping. And in skimping, I'm going to be charging the customer less. But the customer is not thinking that this person that is going to be transporting this money might be attacked, simply because I decided that I'm going to sign off on a 2-man's team. When you are sitting with a client and a client is there, I am Cindy. I am thinking to myself, I need to save costs. But at the same time, I need to be human. And think and ask you, Ntombi, if you're going to be giving me a 2-man team, then what? But so is business. I think that's another topic that we're going to have another day. Let's talk the great trek to America. The great trek to America. And Ntombi, like seriously, those, like what a bizarre twist of a tale of the 49 white African South Africans that have been granted a refugee sort of status based on, well, their supposed systematic racial so-called persecution in South Africa, right? Genocide. A genocide. And you know, this move driven by the Trump administration, you know, if you really look at how it has been interpreted, you know, it's more an ideological gesture and than a principled policy. It is a bit sickening if you really think of it. Because for you being a refugee, you know, it has to be based on conflict, it has to be based on war or genuine danger. But to bolster a narrative about white victimhood, it's something else. I am not sure how to interpret it as a South African. That is also facing the reality of high crime rate in this country, and that has been a victim of crime in this country. Here you take that in all the nationalities that are there, you give preference to these ones that are claiming to be slaughtered in this country. 7 million, right, of white population exists in this country. And the rest is us. And out of that 7 million, you would find that most white South Africans are not thinking the manner in which the ones that are claiming to be the worst affected they're not behaving that way. In fact, in that 49, I'm really interested how many farmers, the true farmers, like serious, like how many farmers, Robert, like seriously, that 49,
these are the cleanest refugees.
Did you see the Mara, that stomach, don't.
I saw.
And that beard, and the car is like, hey, Juliet, this is someone's dad.
These are the cleanest, most healthiest refugees I've ever seen. Ever.
Yeah,
coming from a country where piano, white people are busy dancing to piano, black people are busy dancing to piano. Like, it's a lot. If you go to social media right now, you see the true state of South Africa. Then these 49 cowards, 49 refugees. Let's just stick to refugees since they choosing the word refugees, the phrase refugees. One of them is Klein. His name is Klein. He claims that he left his farm in Mpumalanga, including a 5-bedroom house,
Serious?
his dog. He mentioned them. He gave BBC an interview. He was like, I left my dog, I left my mother, I left my 5-bedroom. Everyone right now is like eyebrows. Everyone is lifting their eyebrows. You're saying you are poor, there's genocide, but you still have a 5-bedroom house. 5-bedroom house. But you are claiming now you are being slaughtered left, right, and center. Where are the states? Where's the facts? Where are the facts? Where did the Trump administration get those facts before choosing these specific people that they've taken? Because right now, real tax workers, real tax payers in America are being deported almost every day. If they find out now you are from Mexico, you're getting deported, even though you are paying tax. Who's gonna fit the bill for these 49 Burukis? Refugees. Who's gonna fit the bill for them? And if you can go to social media, you see the reaction from South Africans and Americans. It's really something else. Even Cyril Ramaphosa boldly called them a coward. Cyril Ramaphosa, in responding to these people landing in America, he said, first of all, real South Africans are resilient. We don't run away from our problems. He says some of these people are not coming to terms that who's in charge right now. There are things that had to be changed. So they are not happy with whatever changes that were brought with the new dawn, with the new democracy, the new government that came in 1994. So some of them are racist. Cyril Ramaphosa did not mince his words. He called them cowards.
But do they know what they're actually getting into? Themselves into, because a refugee status does not come with a red carpet. It doesn't. It comes with that temporary assistance that they're going to be getting, and there are very complex bureaucratic systems that are actually happening in the US with regards to refugee status. And if they've got to be self-reliant at some point, then what? They have left their cushy houses, their dogs, and a promise of a better life and a better future. And using a false narrative that they are the worst victims of crime in this country. And the redress that is supposed to happen in this country from an economic point of view, where there's laws in this country that have to happen simply because this country has seen a lot. And because of that, South Africa is now going to be becoming Zimbabwe. Land grabs and stuff, which is not true. What are we afraid of? What are they afraid of? Because when things were happening the other way around, it happened for a very long time. Our mothers, our grandfathers, our ancestors suffered. And now, when we are trying to redress and address issues that have happened over time, that has got a social and economic impact of this country, we are seeing it fit as apportioning something that is affecting all of us. For us to be able to call this country that some of the people are going through genocide, we should be ashamed. And I'm not going to even mince it. Because the real people that need that are starving. There's war. There's in dangerous situations. And we're not thinking of them. But you are thinking of this big one.
Overweight.
That goes there and says that he is suffering in this country. He must go on diet anyways.
Remember the daughter? Remember the daughter who said she was shocked to see her father being one of the refugees, so-called refugees. The lady said, I mean, my father is not even Afrikaans. And he did not own any farm. Like, why is he there in America? How did he even go about being declared with he's a refugee? It's really concerning. Are these people really refugees or they are opportunists? If you can count, like you said, with how many are they are going to really, or how many are they who are real farmers there, who can really work the land? I mean, the administration, normally it takes 5 years for you to be in government. Let's say Trump goes out, is voted out, the new government comes in. What's going to happen to them? Do you think they'll continue with this refugee status, or they are going to get rid of them?
Well, what an interesting thought. I never even thought of that, by the way. But you know, I would like to hear your views, isn't it?
Yes.
I think in all the issues that we have spoken about, in all the issues that we are intricately looking at and you know, exploring in this forum, we would love your input.
Yes.
I would love to know what you think. We'd love to know your analysis. It would be good that some of these issues, you know, we get one of our audiences that will be able to actually come through and have a deeper engagement, simply because on how you actually see issues that are happening in this country.
Yeah.
And I think in always in this segment we always have snippets and we always showcase exactly what we are talking about. You see that the man with the big stomach, the one with the big stomach that was there just coming out of that plane and just walking through. We are going to be showing we are going to be showing the man with the big stomach. It is on that note, family, that we would love to thank you. Thank you to my co-host as usual. She's just a ray of sunshine. She just touches my soul in so many ways. And in life you find people that are there and that are really wanting to make a meaningful contribution to those that are marginalized. And one of those human beings that I met that I value more than anything else is my co-host Ntombi Nkosi. On that note, family, stay safe. We love you. We hope to see you again. We hope to interact with you again. As we had indicated, please do not hesitate to share, to click, to like, and comment as well. Because you know what? We are coming back. Lots of love.
Adios.